One of the things that my glove buddy shared with me early on is that gloves, and this was for Home Depot, gloves were the second highest impulse buy item at Home Depot, only second to batteries.
Golly, that is amazing.
And so what that meant was it was all about you had to have it had to be in close proximity to the checkout. A guy wasn't coming in to buy work gloves, just like a guy's not coming in to buy fishing gloves. So you had to put them in a high traffic zones, and you had to have displays and fixtures that made that easy for your dealers or your retailers to do that. And so that was part of that whole process is not only have to build a good glove, we got to build a good merchandising system for that.
Hey, it's the Fishing Tackle Retailer Podcast. The show is built for people who run the shops, stock the shelves, talk to the customers, and really keep this industry moving. I'm Angie Thompson. I'm publisher of Fishing Tackle Retailer and the Fishing Wire. And with me is Bobby Thompson, who is the editor of the Fishing Wire. And Bobby, I got to say, I'm looking forward to this one. Our guest today created a retail category that flat out didn't exist before he got into it. And now we're talking about performance fishing gloves. And now tackle shops that are stocking this category can see 5 to 6 turns per year and can make $30,000 in revenue off a little tiny 24 square foot space. And that's not nothing.
Yeah, and what makes this story so awesome is, Tim's story is one of perseverance. He's not like a fishing insider. He didn't come from that world. If I'm not mistaken, he's sold everything from plastic cups to sporting apparel, and and he's been able to make a absolutely massive dent with his brand Fish Monkey and Hunt Monkey.
Yeah. Well, today Fish Monkey is in over 3,000 retail locations across 23 countries, and since launching Fish Monkey, he's also launched Hunt Monkey for the hunting world and launched a line of socks. And Tim Mossberg is here with us today. Tim is the founder of Fish Monkey Gloves. We've got a lot of ground to cover, including what's coming up at iCast. So, hey, Tim, how are you?
I'm doing great, guys. How are y'all doing?
Really good. I'm glad you took the time to do this. We appreciate it. I know you're super busy. I've worked with you for a long time. I know you don't let any moss grow on your feet. So thanks for coming in here.
No, glad to be here. Thanks for the invite. Honored to be with you guys.
Okay, I'm going to start things off just kind of like by going into your backstory, because you've had a pretty windy road to get into the fishing industry. You, like Bobby said, I think you worked in the financial services industry, uniforms and restaurant supply, and you founded an apparel brand. At what point did you look at all of that and realize it was setting you up for doing something in fishing?
Well, grew up fishing, so I always loved that. That's been my biggest passion and hobby. When I was in my mid-20s, I got introduced to blue water fishing, so just fell in love with that and was able to kind of almost travel the globe with a couple of guys chasing blue marlin. So that got me extremely involved in that.
You poor thing.
Yeah, I know. Rough life. And during that time, I had a uniform company, and we were producing uniforms for the convenience store and hospitality and grocery industry. And at the same time, obviously, my passion was fishing, and we had a bunch of decorating type of equipment, embroidery and screen printing equipment. We used that for our uniform business. So as kind of a side business, I started an apparel brand focused on the independent boat owners. It was called boatwareonline.com. So we were making boating apparel, customized boating apparel, easy for individuals have for their boat. Because on the saltwater side, if you had a boat, you wanted to have a boat name, and you gave shirts and hats out to all your buddies and friends and business partners, etc. So I had that going as kind of a side business. And again, we were able to use the equipment we already had. And that sparked the idea of creating an actual retail brand. And that was what launched me into the fishing category. And that was called Mojo Sportswear.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
And so that was kind of the entry part of it. Even though I was heavily involved in fishing, I knew all about apparel and manufacturing. we're already doing production overseas. So we were familiar enough with the concept, but we obviously had never made a retail line. So we started from scratch on how to build a better product for the fishing enthusiast from a clothing side.
Yeah, I love that. And I don't want to get into all the reasons why that Mojo went away, but I do want to say it was growing at like 50%, so it was incredibly successful, and it really speaks to your ability to build a brand. But how did you pick yourself up from that? And when it folded, because I know it was a traumatic thing,
Right.
and how did you pick yourself up from that and say, I'm going to do it again?
Well, it's really just out of necessity because, one day it was working and the next day there was a fallout with a partner that owned more than I owned at the time. And so I had to decide I needed a different direction. But I developed so many great relationships in the fishing category in the apparel side. And we had a sales force that was already somewhat established. So I approached a friend that was in the glove manufacturing business. They were the largest supplier of work gloves in the United States. And he actually just gave me a lot of great advice on how to do gloves. We use gloves, obviously, in fishing from wire and blue marlin and tuna and dolphin, etc. And had buddies that used gloves. So I was, again, well connected in the industry. So I approached him about how do we make gloves, and I approached my fishing buddies on, is there a place to produce a better, is there a market for a better glove? Can we improve something? And everything was yes, yes, yes. So I said, well, that's going to be a starting point. So
Yeah.
started with that idea. How could we make a better product, improve what was out there? And it really started on the saltwater side. We were looking at the heavy wiring gloves and gloves you would use just for general use in saltwater fishing. And from that, it evolved to the full range of what we're involved in now. So yeah, it was just using what we had already learned, and kind of had relationships. The sales groups didn't stay the same because we found that we needed hard good sales reps versus soft good sales reps for fishing gloves. But a lot of the customers, a lot of the buyers were the same people I'd already been dealing with for 6 or 7 years. The trade shows, iCast, things of that nature were the same shows I'd already been involved in. So I understood all that. And I'd already been traveling overseas, working with factories and producing goods, had a great designer that I was already working with. So all of that stuff kind of fell in place. All of our marketing strategies would be the same, working with many of the same magazines, many of the same pro staff. So all of that just really kind of easily transferred over to the glove side, just a different widget.
It was so smart. It really was so smart of you to do that. So you launched Fish Monkey in 2016, and that category, like I said earlier, just really didn't exist for independent fishing retailers before you launched. Was it hard to sell when you walked into shops or your reps walked into shops? Was it hard to sell that new category?
Not really. And I was thinking about that, like, what happened and how was it kind of picked up so easily. We started off focusing our first iCast show after we did a bunch of samples and a bunch of testing and, getting a bunch of product out to the pros' hands that we already knew. We knew we had a good product, knew we were kind of onto something, but we were still focused on that saltwater market. And at our first iCast show, we were approached by Timmy Horton, and he said, "Hey, we need a glove sponsor, and I wear gloves. Would you be interested?" And I'm thinking, shoot, the bass market, that we know about it, obviously, but hadn't really put that in the calculation as what's going to be our major market. And that just opened all those doors to that bass consumer and that bass media and everything about fresh water. So it really helped get us started. And the fact that we were testing product and having so many people use it, it was easy to sell the concept and the idea. And plus the other thing is you could see that the interest level on the pro side, when you watch the tournaments, you could see more and more of those guys wearing gloves. So there was definitely a need for something better. We just kind of hit it, I think, at the right time.
That's incredible. So you have like a fixture that a retailer can buy that's basically, is it 24 by 24? That's the
Yeah,
footprint
that's a
or
rough
inches?
size. We actually have two different size. One's the larger size. Yeah, right there. And then we do another one called a slim, and both are on wheels. Both do a great job of merchandising. One of the things that my glove buddy shared with me early on was is that gloves, and this was for Home Depot. Gloves were the second highest impulse buy item at Home Depot, only second to batteries. And
Golly, that is amazing.
and
Interesting.
so what that
Yeah.
meant was it was all about you had to have it had to be in close proximity to the checkout. A guy wasn't coming in to buy work gloves, just like a guy's not coming in to buy fishing gloves. So you had to put them in a high traffic zones, and you had to have displays and fixtures that made that easy for your dealers or
Yeah,
your retailers to do that. And
right.
so that was part of that whole process is not only have to build a good glove, we got to build a good merchandising system for that.
Well, you're so good at that. Listen, I think you understand visually, you understand so much about branding and merchandising because the brand, in my opinion, the brand is so strong. Like once you sort of see that logo and the color scheme and all that, you just really don't forget it. And then having that color on the fixture just got to draw people's eyes to it. And the fact that it's on wheels, so the retailer has a lot of flexibility to move it around. I just think all of that is basically brilliant, in my opinion.
Well, well, thank you. Again, there's a lot of great inspiration when you look out there of what other brands have done, whether it's in our space or not. So it's just kind of open your eyes to what's working, and let's kind of fashion ourselves on what those guys.
Yeah. And you say that people that are really merchandising gloves the way you recommend are turning about 5 or 6 times a year.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah,
And then then that represents a new $30,000 in revenue they didn't have
yeah.
last year, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
I
mean,
mean,
and we've got independent stores now that are approaching, 60, 70, $80,000 in purchases, which would
yeah.
represent, 120 to $160,000 in sales. Now
Wow.
these are it's some of your bigger independent retailers that have a full market, both hunt and fish. So they're covering categories basically 12 months out of the year. There's a legitimate product need that they have in their store. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing what revenues can be generated off a small footprint.
Well, how do you help the retailer if he's not run your line before? How do you help them make the decision about what to start with and how much inventory they need? And is that a conversation you have with them or your reps have with them? And I'm sure that it's a little hand holding.
Yeah, so it's typically the reps, but we have a concept that we've already understand and built. So we know what top sellers are by any region. I mean, there's a lot of great data out there. Again, we've been at it now for 9 or 10 years. So good supporting data on what sells in what region. And then one of the main things that we try to set up with a dealer is we don't want to oversell him. We only want to give him about a month and a half or a turn and a half's worth of inventory to start. And we want him to be reordering really every month, every 2 months to keep that fresh, right? Keep the pegs full to keep it fresh. So we're not giving him 6 months worth of inventory or suggesting that up front. We're giving him just enough to get him started and get the turns so that he doesn't have a huge investment to get started. He's not sitting on a bunch of product if it's not working. If something's not working from a color standpoint or style, we swap it out so he's not going to get stuck with anything. We make it easy for him, right?
Yeah.
All we want them to really do is to give it a try, display it properly, keep it merchandised, basically keep the pegs full, and the product will sell itself. If it's in the right location and they got the traffic, zero problem moving the product.
Yeah. Well, Bobby, I've been talking too much. Why don't I'll give the floor
No,
to you.
it's cool. I mean, those are incredible numbers. That's really awesome. I'm curious. Y'all are in something like 3,000 stores, multiple countries, 20 plus maybe. I'm curious. At what point did y'all start considering international markets, and how's that going? Are you seeing a lot of growth, outside the United States?
Yeah, we are. So part of my leftover reps from the apparel side was a gentleman that covered Central and South America. Great friend of mine, good buddy, big angler, loves salt water as much as I do. And so he already had good relationships with customers. And so as I launched the fishing line, he was already there to start presenting that. Again, a lot of the same customers we had on the apparel side, they come to iCast. They typically use that as their buy and show. So we're seeing that same guy again, right? And so it was easy because they already knew we did a great job on the apparel side and we did all the marketing and stood behind the product. And we're very innovative. So it was easy to get that guy on board. And then we started seeing some of the European international market approach us. And we've actually done very well. And we have a major distributor in Sweden that covers Denmark as well. So we've grown that market in those areas. In addition, we've got accounts in Dubai and Japan and all throughout Central and South America and Canada and just basically everywhere at this point. So wherever there's a good fishing consumer, we've got dealer-based operations or distributor-based operations going. And they
It's
don't,
been really awesome to watch.
yeah, and what's interesting is, you think, oh man, that all of these places should already have their own glove guys. They don't. Obviously, you see how well all the other brands out there, like the Avcos, the Hooks, the Pelagics of the world, all those different brands have done so well from an international standpoint. I mean, it's just, people love U.S. brands, and U.S. does a phenomenal job in producing just great quality, innovative product. I mean, we obviously lead the world in it.
Amazing.
Uh, Tim, how did I may be getting ahead of myself here, but how did the decision come along to start socks?
So it was all based on a hunting story. So I love to hunt, grew up hunting just like I grew up fishing. So we'd fish in the spring and summer and hunt in the fall and the winter. And as a kid, my feet were always cold because we're wearing those rubber boots, right? As you grow up, my feet were still cold because I'm wearing a better leather boot and my feet are still cold. So I was at a show, and the Frog Talk guys were there, which we're all friends. And I asked Kevin, I said, man, what do you do about cold feet? Do your feet ever get cold? He goes, well, what kind of socks are you wearing? I said, well, I don't know, but I'm wearing 3 pair out of whack. And he goes, man, you're not doing it right. You don't have good socks. Now, at this point, I'm in my mid to late 50s when we had this conversation. And I'm thinking, I've been deer hunting all my life, all over the place, right? And duck hunting, etc. And I never knew that there was a better sock product out there. So he introduced me to merino wool socks. And so that got me thinking, kind of like in gloves, if I didn't know that there's a better option for a sock product out there that does a better job in keeping your feet warm and moisture management and just more comfortable, how many other guys are in the same boat that were avid hunters, avid fishermen? We didn't know there was a better product. So that got me involved in doing a ton of research and just found out that, yeah, there's great product, great sock brands and great U.S. sock brands, right? A lot of great sock brands out there, but none of them really addressed or focused on the hunt fish consumer. They weren't, we're telling them a story. They didn't say, hey, buy our product. This is what it's going to do for you, right? So that I saw that as an opportunity since we already had a well-established glove customer. They trusted us. By that time, we've got the hunt line out. It's working great. Our winter fish is working great. Our spring, summer fish is working great. So all of that stuff's working great. We got a dedicated, very loyal customer. So it's like, well, shoot, let's see if we can produce a better sock for them. So we did. So we joined forces with the oldest sock factory in America and sat down and spent about 6 months developing exactly what I felt and our pros felt and all the feedback back and forth, what we needed to produce a better hunting and fishing sock. And it turned out to be 3 different weights in several different styles. It addresses every type of hunting, every type of fishing you could possibly do. And again, it's not your hiking sock or tennis sock or pickleball sock. It's actually made, with the type of construction that does a better job for your feet and your legs in a hunt fish environment. So,
Bobby?
Yeah, I mean that's cool. I've got a couple things. I don't want to. I guess we can turn the wheel a little bit. I definitely wanted to make sure I asked about the Whitewater collab for people that don't know. Y'all have done a collaboration on gloves and maybe some other stuff, but gloves heavily that looked really awesome. So if you wanted to enlighten us on how that got started, it's just
Sure.
such a cool story.
Sure. So we're actually doing a lightweight or a summer glove and then one winter glove product with those guys as a collaboration. So I met Kevin, their VP of Sales and Marketing. We were on a mossy oak turkey hunt together out in Texas. So we met. We're talking. Obviously, they're Scent Lock. Nexus is their brands. They got Scent Lock and Blocker, several different hunting camo brands, apparel brands. So we're talking. He knows our brand. I know their brand. Blah blah blah. And so we just hit it off real well and started talking about concepts, ideas, strategies, product development, you name it. And they approached us as they were launching and got the Whitewater line going, and said, "Hey, would you like to do a collaboration on gloves for Whitewater? Both of us branding it. You guys do great gloves. We do great apparel." And I said, "Love to." And so that kind of kicked it off. But yeah, we met on a turkey hunting trip out in Texas. And so it became, and a great guys to work with. So I've
I
enjoyed
think they're a great partner for you. They are similar, I think, to you in that they seem to really understand branding. They understand content really well. The content that they send us is always, really just top notch. And it's not like they ever just push something out and kind of let it go. They push things out with sort of the right launch around strategy around it.
right,
So,
right.
so I'm going to talk a little bit more about your products themselves. You've talked a lot about in the past about the thermoconductive liner technology, and I just find that so fascinating. I really do. And so I would love for you to kind of explain that, how it works, and what it means for an angler.
Sure. So as we got involved in winter gloves, winter fishing gloves, and we were kind of challenged to produce a better winter fishing glove, ice fishing glove, than what was in the market. And we've got two great pros that we work with in that category, Brian Bro Brosdale and then Steve Panez. Both of them big winter fish guys, both from up north Minnesota type area. And so in working with both of them was like, what's out there? Is there room for improvement? And they said, absolutely, there's room for improvement. So we looked at what was out there, and really just tore what was out there apart from dissecting the product and then identifying how it's made and how we can improve it. And then on one of my trips to our factories, I was there and they were showing me a material, and it was a material used in outerwear. It was called the thermoconductive fabric. And basically what it is a fleece, and they impregnate or print a ceramic dust pattern on top of the fleece. And the ceramic dust acts like a rock does next to a fire. It absorbs heat, right? And so when you put that, and again, it's used in outerwear, but I'd never seen it used in gloves. And so when you put your hand in it, warm hand, it actually warms the glove, and it keeps the glove warmer longer. And so your hand doesn't have to work nearly as hard to keep warm. And the main benefit is it's very thin material, so it cuts down on the bulk, which we still have to bulk the glove up anyway, because it's made for, negative 20, 30, 40 degree type environments. But the challenge in any type of functional fishing glove is if you make them too bulky, you can't use them. Right? I mean,
That's
you can't
right.
make it a ski glove. It's got to be a true, nimble glove with dexterity. So anyway, so the thermoconductive liner solved the problem of not only did it allow the glove to function better and be thinner, but it also kept your hands warmer, because it would kind of, again, not a chemical situation. It would just kind of heat up or would heat up from a thermoconductive liner material, which again is all driven by the ceramic dust.
Am I showing it right? Is this glove is thermoconductive?
Yeah, that's it. So that's Brian Brosdale. That's our lead pro, and we've been working with him for years. Phenomenal guy for ice fishing. Lives it, breathes it. Just that's his world, and he helped us design this line of gloves. So
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I love that. I love that. Okay, Bobby, I'm gonna let you have the floor again. I'm looking for the next
Sure.
picture.
You're looking for the next pictures. Okay. I kind of lost my. We've got a couple little things. Let's see. We talked about okay. What about the freestyle glove, the one where you can cut the fingers and the fabric won't fray? It
Right.
seems like a really specific technology and a specific problem with a specific solution. So where in the world did that come from?
So, if you recall, about 7 years ago, bow fishing was all the rage. Everybody was involved in it. It was a big deal. So, again, with us, because we work with so many pros and pro staff and captain mates, we're well involved in the industry. We had guys coming to us and, hey, man, we need a better bow fishing glove. Can you make us a bow fishing glove? And I talked to all these folks, and everybody had kind of a different idea on what to make, which fingers to be exposed because they want their trigger fingers basically exposed, right? And so the problem was we didn't want to make two or three different designs. So I put some thought to it and said, shoot, what if we could make a glove that you could actually cut the fingers out that you wanted, right? And we have to do something special with that glove on the inside so it doesn't rip and fray and come apart. And so we basically took all the fingers and double stitched on the inside where the seams are and used a material that when you cut it, it doesn't fray and the seams won't rip apart. We put a little cut line, a silicone line on the outside so you know where to cut it if you want to cut it. And we just, made it like that. And it's kind of taken off. And in the bow fishing enthusiasm, I think, is kind of slowed down over the years. And what it ultimately became was just a phenomenal, slow pitch jig fishing glove, a popper fishing glove, anything where you're doing that's kind of slightly heavier tackle or fishing braid. It's a phenomenal glove. It fits like a golf or a batting glove. And again, if you want to take certain fingers out, you can just cut them off and it gives you that level of functionality. But in a really, really, really good basic fishing glove. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's just good technology. It's
Yeah.
just a brilliant idea. Yeah.
I mean, we got the wiring pad on the side. So if it was made so when you're wrapping up and pulling in the bowstring, the bow lines, right? Versus a lot of guys would just crank it in on a reel. So we've added that to it, but that was also added because you could wire small fish with it, right? Or if whether it's little small sailfish, dolphin, tuna, that whole series. Bass guys fishing braid again, tying up lures or pulling lures out of stuck lures out of trees, just having something that you could wrap the line around your hand and not cut into your hand. Like, well, why not? That's a benefit. That makes that part of fishing a little easier,
Yeah. Yeah, and now, okay, so now you've got gloves, you've got socks, you've done some like woolly, or I'm sorry, the little, I'm losing the word.
Beanies, yeah.
Beanies, yeah.
Yep.
And so you've really got what you now speak of as a system, right?
Correct.
So did
Correct.
the market pull you to that, or is that just something that you wanted to go in that direction? What signals did you get for that?
And that's a good question. And I didn't realize we had gotten there until earlier this year. And that's why, obviously, when you and I've kind of talked about the concept, it came from, so for each glove we were building, as we built a glove, and then as we got it, and obviously when we first built the gloves, then we built a face guard to go with it. So that's all the lightweight stuff, right? So the face guard is the sun protection for your head and face. So we were building this stuff, but we didn't really know we were engaged in the system concept. So as we got the socks going, and then as we started getting more involved in the hunt side and the heavier winter fish side, we were building headgear, balaclavas, face guards, fleece this, waterproof that, etc. All stuff for your head and face. We were building quality product to match the gloves. And so at the end of the day, for every glove we made, we had some type of headgear, just like we had some type of sock that would pair up well with that. And then it just dawned on me, it's like, shoot, we're making the best three products that you can combine together. Nobody was doing that, right? Or nobody is doing that. We've got the best three items to cover your head, hand, and feet that anybody, period, has out there. And they're all made to pair well together. So it's just not haphazardly done. If we've got a heavy glove, we've got a heavy face guard, a heavy balaclava, and a heavy sock to go with it, and all very purpose built whether it's waterproof, whether it's a different type of insulation, quietness from a deer hunting standpoint or a hunting standpoint, functionality from a waterfowl standpoint. So we just built all that in based on what.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And then it's kind of and for the retailer, again, I've heard you say in the past that some of these items are difficult for a retailer to get because they're made by an apparel company that requires you to buy the whole line. Can you
Correct.
talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So in many cases, most of your major apparel brands in the hunt fish space have accessory items, gloves, hats, balaclavas, whatever, that go along with the product, but they haven't really focused as much on the product, and it's part of an add-on. And so in some cases, you would have to buy the apparel line, maybe the bigger product line, in order to get the accessory items for them, which are their glove socks and headgear. And for us, it can be all separated, but at the same time, it's all purpose built. So it's built not as an accessory item; it's actually built as a core part of the function of your hunt fish day.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
That's
Okay,
that's
so
so cool.
iCast, right around the corner. You're at booth 3633. If any retailers want to jot that down, what are you excited about with iCast this year? About what people will see in your booth?
Well, the continuation of the sock business, so we're getting more and more and more greater traction there. Had a great last good 2 years. So the name and the brand and the concept and our messaging and what we stand for and the quality is all resonating. So that's great. So it's good to have those more conversations. And as far as new products, we've developed a few new items to go on our winter fish side. We're doing a waterproof knit glove. It's called the Hydro Block, and it's very unique. So I've kind of avoided the knit glove category for waterproof because I just didn't think the quality was there yet that would match up with what we're doing. And so a ton of work, a ton of research, and kind of figuring out how to make a better knit glove and make it truly waterproof. And there's technology out there, but again, they weren't really making it for that fish environment, right? Like that
Right.
we wanted to. And just a bunch of back and forth and trial and error, we figured out the right materials, the right weight, the right type of waterproof membrane to produce. And we've produced a new Hydro Block or new knit glove that's a good price point. It's going to retail for $39. So it's
Oh,
good
wow.
and easy for the consumer to use and easy for the retailer to sell. But it's 100% waterproof, breathable membrane. And then we added a merino liner so it helps with warmth and moisture management. So it's just a good product. I've got a sample picture somewhere.
You should know you have one right handy.
I should be real handy. Oh, here it is. So I don't know if you can see it. So
Yeah.
this is the palm. So we've got the grip palm, right? And again, very flexible, very stretchy type material. There's the back of the hand,
I
right?
love it.
We do screen touch and the thumb and the index finger, so you can still work your phone and your boat
So
electronics.
talk about that a little bit, Tim. We haven't shown people that.
Yeah, so screen touch, obviously, anytime you're wearing a glove, the idea for us is you don't want to take the glove off to work your electronics, right? So your body machines, your phone, whatever, your GPS, whatever you're going to use, you don't want to take your glove off to have to operate that. So screen touch is made in the thumb and index finger on this. So it's just extremely versatile. And most of our winter gloves, our full finger gloves, have screen touch made in them. So again, you're not taking the glove off to do something. You put the glove on, you keep the glove on, you get the full value and functionality of the glove at that.
How does that work though? Is it just let heat through?
It's heat. It's more of like a coppery type thread material that
Ah,
transfers the heat and the touch through to the device.
that's so interesting.
Yeah. So,
Awesome.
and then the difference in a knit glove versus a sewn glove is just the fit, right? So it's like a sock that goes on your foot. It fits better, it kind of conforms to the shape of your foot or your hand. That's the advantage of a knit glove. So it's just going to be a product that fits a little better than a traditional non-knit glove.
Right.
There, the disadvantage to a knit glove is it's not going to be as durable long term as a sewn glove with a solid palm bottom, etc. Because the way a waterproof glove is made is there's a membrane, almost like a plastic bag concept. It's breathable, it's high tech, right? But the membrane is easy to damage, and so the knit material doesn't easily stop a fin or a hook from going through. So if you puncture the membrane, it's going to leak a little bit, right? So it's not replacing any of our other gloves. It's just another option, for a consumer to have, right?
Yeah.
And again, a great option and a good price point.
Yeah.
And then along with that, we've come out with a line of waterproof socks.
Oh, wow.
Right? So again, a medium weight sock, 100% waterproof, same technology as the knit glove, 3-piece construction. You got the outer shell, you've got an inner membrane, waterproof membrane that's breathable as well, so it doesn't hold moisture. And then you've got a merino wool liner on the inside. So it's just a good waterproof sock. We do it in your basic boot cut length. And then we also do for the guys that are wearing waders or muck boots, we do a longer cut called an OTC cut. Both of them are waterproof. Both good quality, medium weight. That's going to be good for any type of fish hunt environment that you might be in a wet situation, a leaky boot, right, or leaky waders. So it's not, and it's certainly good for wade fishing. That's what it was originally made for, but it's really your backup plan. I mean, how many times is a bass guy out in a winter rainstorm, but you don't want to wear a heavy boot because you can't control your electronics or your equipment as well, right? So you're still wearing a light shoe. You don't want to be in a wet sock or wet foot all day because especially a couple of days of that can create a problem. So a waterproof sock stops all that. You can wear that waterproof sock, as opposed to your regular sock under a tennis shoe, under your deck boot, under whatever, and it gives you that added protection.
Fantastic idea. I'm so glad you're doing that. If you can keep my feet dry in the wintertime, I'll be happy.
Listen, I think my boys need some waterproof socks. I'll do the math on why,
sons?
but
Yeah.
they could use some.
And the waterproof sock market hasn't really had phenomenal quality fit product in the past. And we were able to locate a factory and again spend months of working with fit and construction and how to make it better. And we've just got a sock. I mean, it fits great, feels great, doesn't feel like you're wearing an old bulky plastic bag, in a sock type scenario. It feels very similar to a normal sock would be. So it's not anything that it's going to give a consumer any type of headache. It's actually going to be a huge benefit to them. And they're warm, so it's just a good all around product.
Awesome. All right, we're about to run out of time. Bob, you got anything else?
No, I mean, I think we ran through it. I mean, I've been, these are such awesome products. The number, even the numbers and stuff we talked about at the beginning of the segment. That's not nothing. So anybody that's got that kind of shop or thinks they can fit something like that into their shop, I would really encourage them to make that call. Because it speaks for itself.
Yeah, and in the market in our category is growing. The tech side and what people want. They want better quality, and they've been fed just great stuff, right? I mean, every type of fishing electronic, every fishing change, all the fishing materials, rods, lures, lines, etc. Everything is advanced, and so that consumer loves that, right? So you gotta keep feeding the beast and having those type of gloves, which are key now, seen as key products. Again, now the headgear, now the socks, all of that make for a better fishing day. Just more comfortable, more successful out there, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's one of the reasons we did socks and we didn't talk about it as much. Just the leg fatigue that an angler has. Again, you're standing on the front of a boat for, 6, 7, 8, 12 hours a day. Man, when you sit down, that just feels way too good. Well, that's because your legs are all beat up. You got leg and foot fatigue. A better quality sock controls all that so you're not as beat up, so you feel more refreshed. You can go at it longer.
That's such a nuanced thing, Tim. I don't think people realize that just a little bit of cushion on your sock can change. And I guess the compression too, maybe.
Yeah, so the compression stimulates blood flow, which is the biggest factor of leg fatigue and leg cramp. So, I mean, like, for old people, they put us in these big socks when we get on the airplane, right? So you have better circulation, and it's the same thing in our socks. We do that same type of compression. It stimulates blood flow and takes out leg fatigue and foot
That's great.
fatigue.
That's a
So,
good deal. Well, okay, before we go, I just want to ask you one question that I try to ask everybody. What's something, I hope I asked you everything I should have, but what's something that you wish people would ask you that they never do?
well, it's not that they never do, and that's a good question. And I would probably say they don't invite me to go fishing enough with.
I can agree with that. That's why I would say that
You
same
know,
thing for me
I mean,
too.
we're there, we're at shows, we're doing business, all that's good. It's be like, man, look, well, we ought to just go fishing, a
I
lot
love it.
easier. So,
Well, I won't be in a position to invite you to go fishing in Orlando, but maybe sometime soon we can.
I'm sure we can. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can
All
make
right.
that happen.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's a really fun conversation. And I love that you just kind of find the gap in things that didn't exist before and then you build it. And Fish Monkey was that and Hunt Monkey's that. And it sounds like you're not done, right?
No, no, there's a few more things we can do, and again, we're just at the tip of the iceberg with the opportunities. It's
Gotcha.
brands caught on, quality's there, phenomenal retailers, great sales force. I mean, we work just all around. Everything is good. It's a good industry and a good business. So, and it's passion. I mean, we use it. We love it. We're not making it because we're not involved in the industry. We use all of this product. All of our guys use it. We're very, very, very engaged in all piecey parts of it. So.
That's great. All right. Well, Tim will be at iCast in booth 3633 for anybody that is going to be there and anybody that wants to find you on the floor. And dealers can get started. You have a special site for dealers at dealers.fishmonkeygloves.com. And there's a lot of great information there. And I'll put that link in the show notes. And for our listeners, thank you for spending part of your day with us. If you think this is useful, share it with somebody else in the fishing business. And if you have thoughts on what you'd like to hear on future episodes, I'd sure like to hear them. You can reach out to me at Angie@fishingtackleretailer.com. Tim, thank you again. Bobby, thank you. And I will sign off by saying that this podcast is dedicated to my dad because he always had time to take me fishing.